silence, and they'd never been in silence before. And isn't it either goes one of two ways. Didn't you either realize, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how noisy my thoughts were. Just like when you first sit to meditate, it's like, oh my gosh, that's really going on there? You still, the body and the mind seems like it amps up.
May I?
You can do whatever you want.
As a young monk right over here on 101, that building, that's where I started. And we did a lot of skits just to relieve some of the heaviness that could happen if you take yourself seriously on the spiritual path. So we did a skit, and I did a skit once because we had some Charger rooters as a postulant. His brother was Dan Fouts, who was quarterback, or his cousin was. So I did a meditating monk, and I got a bunch of soundtrack from Charger games, and I've been sitting there, and I'm going good, I'm doing my breath work right, and all of a sudden, any back to pass, and that comes up on the thing, and I move a little bit, and it's recede, and I move some more, and the whole thing was just a stitch, but it was so real. It was scary. And so we as young monks would go up to the Mother Center at Christmas, maybe 24 of us to join maybe 100 and so other monks at our international headquarters, our SRF's international headquarters, and they had a big Christmas party. And then there would be Maha skits there, the best of what happened in different ashrams through the year, and then they'd play them there. But I remember Brother Primoy, who was in charge of us, he was trying so hard. He said, would you do that for us? Would you do that for us? I didn't think it was that good. I thought it was kind of like, so what, And I thought of it just the other day. It's funny you should start that way, because I felt bad. Because I said, no, I'm not going to do it. Can you imagine? I know. That was before I was a yes man in the ashram, you see. I was still saying no until you learn it's better to say yes. Sorry, honey, I didn't. You get a couple extra minutes, honey. Silence.
Now I have to use the power of my mind to remember where I was.
I know.
What was I talking about? I don't know.
Well, maybe Johnny's mind.
I know. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Silence. The power of silence. And, Kim lent me a DVD on her teacher, Anand, her teacher, and what's it called? The Highest Pass? And so I love documentaries. So Tom went to bed, at 5 o'clock last night? And then, I want to watch this documentary because he's not into documentaries. And so the previous...
not that I'm not into documentaries. This service this morning is really about her and me. You get that, right? No, I was just too dead tired to watch the documentary. I love documentaries.
All right, two confessions. We're both sleep deprived. Can you tell?
Okay.
We are seriously sleep deprived.
All right, sorry.
And it's not helping that you keep interrupting. Okay, so what was I now? Documentaries. This is going to be a long morning. Yeah. He can't be in silence. His head pops up. No.
Because what? Oh, what did she say?
Nothing.
Oh, come on.
So there were these documentaries.
Oh, they're in silence. They went like this. They're not going to tell me.
That works for me.
Thanks,
fired, Robert. No. Okay. So, all right. Never mind that either. All right. Now I have nothing to talk about. Anybody have a good joke?
I'm sure Tom does.
Yeah, I do, as a matter of fact. Why was the Buddha a horrible vacuumer? Because he had no attachments. All right.
Okay. Anyone got any better jokes? Any real jokes?
You were going to say when he ordered a hot dog.
Make me one with everything.
There you go.
So, all right, before we deteriorate.
That was a setup.
I know, seriously. Okay, I'll try something else. No, actually, so the coming attractions before this documentary was about other documentaries. Not to bring it down at all. But actually, it's true, because all these documentaries are on things that were not so joyous, like child laborers, and then the other one was about you know, how they are suppressing cancer treatments that work, and you know, all these things. And by the time the DVD came on, I was pretty depressed.
Wow.
The movie came on, and I was pretty depressed. But I thought about it. You know, I thought, what can I do about these things, about child laborers and our food being so sick, and you know, our healthcare system and the politics and blah 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 blah. And you know what? It's what we're doing right now. It's getting together. It's even with some in silence. It's laughing. It's singing. It's joking. And you know you need it when it's really hard to do. When somebody else is able to just kind of be like this, and you know when you're out of tune because you look at them and go. You know that there's a artery in your heart a little blocked, right? The joy's not flowing through. And Lahiri Mahasaya, a great yogi, used to say, and you've heard us use this quote quite a bit because it's really powerful. If you want God to be a guest, if you want God to be with you in the winter of your life, make him your summer guest. Because you never know, you know, a couple weeks ago, Tom got a phone call from his sister, and his sister got a diagnosis that is not fun, right? It means she's got to change her life. It means she's got to look at what's going on. She's got to get some treatment, blah, blah, blah. Is it life-threatening? We're hoping not, but it could be. Probably not. But, you know, you never know when you're going to get that phone call, right? So then what? Then everything we're doing now comes into play. Takes us a moment, right? Because the wave kind of knocks us over. And then you step up and you go, okay, what do I need to do here? How about a little faith and trust in the divine plan? Well, if you don't have any life insurance, you know, right? If you don't have that insurance, if you haven't been building up your fund in your meditation, in your good environment, and in feeding yourself right thoughts and doing things that support your connection with spirit, when that phone call comes, it's devastating. And it's devastating anyway, like I said, but how quick do we get back on our feet and say, okay, I got this. I've got a toolbox. I've got a toolbox. And no matter how long and hard it might be to pull them out and use the tools, you just keep going. And so I don't have a joke, but I have a story. There was this squirrel. She actually was a highly evolved soul. And she wanted to experience what it was like to be a squirrel and have a litter, if that's what you call little baby squirrels. So she built her nest in this beautiful tree by the ocean. And the time came and she had her little baby squirrels. And so, and so she was so enjoying playing this role of squirrel mother. And all of a sudden, she looked out and she could see the ocean starting to kick up. And she was actually a little further away from her tree because she was gathering food for her babies. And all of a sudden, this storm came, and before she could get back to the tree, this huge wave came, a tsunami, and took the nest and everything in it out into the ocean. These are yogic stories. They're not always happening. So it took all of her babies out into the ocean. Well, this squirrel went to the edge of the ocean, and she said to the divine, "Give me my babies back. I want my babies back." And so she waited for a couple more waves to come in to see if her babies would come floating back in. And they didn't. And she said, "God, give me my babies back." And she waited again. And the waves came in and no babies. And she said, "Okay, all right then. If you're not going to give me my babies back, then I'm going to dry the ocean up until there's nothing left but my babies." So she just was this little squirrel. So she took her tail and she dipped it in water. She went and patted it. And she just kept doing that. She was going to empty the ocean using her little scoop of her little tail until, she just kept going. There was nothing left of her tail. She just kept going. And so Divine Mother saw her and appeared to her And she said, your love and your determination touched my heart. You win. Here's your baby's back. Now this is a story that the yogis tell about the power of determination. And often our greatest determination, the way to get determined, is when it gets us right here, right? When we love something or someone so much that we're willing to do anything, including wear our tail out to the bone to make a point, right? So there's another saying, tell me what you put your attention on and I'll tell you who you are. There's another way of saying, when we get to that point where we have to sit up a little taller and dig in a little deeper and get our determination and our will going, up until where are our thoughts? Are we going to be able to do that? And it's being in silence and watching those thoughts. It's not about making ourselves wrong, but once you notice that a negative thought comes up, you've heard us say it, you hear it all over the place, right? Just flip it over. Flip it over. Turn it on its side. Inside out, up and backwards. Get yourself a permanent mantra if you have to when a negative thought comes up, especially about yourself. Get that mantra coming on. I'm a child of spirit. I am beautiful. I am powerful. I am bliss. I am on. Whatever it takes. Flip it over. And because that's where you build the willpower to become like that mother squirrel. It doesn't happen. It does happen out here, right? We'll be given circumstances to test our will. But if we haven't made ourselves strong, and you have to be strong mentally to get in your heart, right? It's an act of will to say, all right, I'm dropping into my heart. I'm choosing love. It's not just, choosing love over fear is not just a heart-centered thing. It's getting the whole body going. So this is the time, right? This is, for those of you who are in silence, milk the silence for all you can. Build your power. Notice, watch your thoughts. I said in my class the other day, wouldn't it be interesting if every night before we went to sleep, we had to review every thought we had during the day? I think it'd be a really good idea. Wouldn't we change them pretty quickly? And wouldn't we notice how many repetitive thoughts we have that really just take up space, waste time? Where's our power? Our power. So it's time. We'll bring our emotional power, our mental power, the power of our word, the power of our bodies. Make the connection with all of your bodies and all of your being with Source now. If this in the summer of your life, because in the winter, the divine will come to you and will say, you've touched my heart. Here are your babies back. Here's what you love. And maybe someday we'll say to her, you know what? That's not important. I only love you. Whatever you want to happen, I'm fine with. Not thy will, my will.
There's an order of called Trappist monks. Trappist monks keep silence all the time.
Here comes a joke.
They didn't know that.
They're going to
They
find
thought-
out.
There is such an order. They do keep silence. And they get on their one celebration a year, the seniors have been there the longest get to say a few words once a year. So the year came by and they're having a big dinner together, and the monk got his time to say something, and he said, I hate oatmeal. That was it. There's no more talking for another year. Then that same feast day came, same gathering. The next senior monk was able to say his 2 cents, and he said, I love oatmeal. Another year went by, and the third one, when it was his turn, he said, would you guys quit bickering about the oatmeal? So the moral of the story is, It's one thing to say, I'm going to be in silence. It's another thing, as Trish said, oh, wow, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm quiet. Because my thoughts are still like this, right? And it's true for a while. You know, this kind of soul determination that Trish is talking about is the kind of the unconditional determination that, hey, ADD or whatever else I got going on, so what? I'm going to be determined just one little, maybe it's a 1-minute meditation. Maybe I'm down to my 1-minute meditation, but it's 60 seconds of my purest intention because God watches the heart. And then I don't go 2 minutes because my mind wanders off and I haven't been good at bringing it back. So Lord, I'm going to give you a minute, as many minutes as a day that I can to totally pure intention, you know, letting you know that you're very important to me. In fact, best thing would be, I love you. No, I don't want anything from you. Because you know, you best times with your mates or your husbands and wives or children is when something comes from the heart and they don't want anything in return, right? It's like, wait, what's wrong? And it's just a pure offering. So that kind of soul determination. I remember Yogananda had a poem. It says, when will God come? When will God come? And some of the verses were these. He said in the beginning, the start of the poem, when every heart's desire pales, when every heart's desire pales in the hope of his coming, then he will come. Then he will come. So just a desire for this, but there's still a hope that I'm still going to focus on the reality of my life. I'm still going to make that source the guest right where I am today in my life. I'm going to deposit some moments, personal, one-on-one time with the divine. Then he said, when in expectation of his coming, that I am willingly, grieflessly, determinedly willing to throw all the desires, all the logs of my desires in the fireplace of life in order to protect my consciousness and my relationship from God from the ice of freezing indifference. Then I'm willing to take this moment and say, okay, so be it. Whatever. I don't know if I don't understand it, but you do, Lord, and I trust you. So, okay, I accept it for starters. And you put that log, that's a great burner. That's more than the 3-hour logs that you can get at the pharmacy, you know. It's just a long burning log, and you put it there just saying, here, Lord, I want to just not be so preoccupied in my heart and troubled in my heart because I'm thinking about this stuff. And it burns and burns and burns, and then it starts to crack the ice. If you get me on these Sundays and we're having an immersion, how can I not praise these people that come? Because, you know, we are all icebergs. And when it comes to being in a group where it's kind of like, let's just see if we can sit here next to each other and not be afraid of this other person, right? And not have already judged her or him, so now we got judgments. We don't even know this person because we don't maybe like the way they look or whatever, right? Can I just start there and see if some of that ice can melt? Maybe just a little bit. Can I see that too? We have a great video that we show. It's the shortest one. It's only 40-something seconds, and it's the Kung Fu Panda. If you haven't seen the Kung Fu Panda movies, you got to go get that today. But anyway, he was, because the panda comes in overweight, totally not thinking he has powerful at all, and he comes to this monastery, and I want to join, I want to be a fighter, I want to know Kung Fu. They recognized that somehow the guy had a mark of greatness to him, but he drove the teacher crazy. So this little clip is where the teacher recognized that him going crazy about panda disturbed his inner peace. It had nothing to do with panda. Panda came to teach his teacher that inner peace can only be gotten when we see acres of diamonds in everybody who pushes our buttons, meaning that it's not about them. So there's this scene where he's going on. He said, Panda, that first day you came here, was the worst day, the most despicable day, the hardest day ever of my life. But it is not about you, Panda. I realized that it was all about me. That if I give away my inner peace, I give everything away. So now I know it is about me, Panda, and it's not about you. And that's 40 seconds of a clip. We're going to show that this afternoon to these guys. To show that what is your acres of diamonds, everybody? And before that, we showed something of the samurai, because we're on inner peace today. We showed something of the samurai, those that were like the real samurai, you know, like the real knights in shining armor, which were really disciplined, in tune with the cosmic laws. And they emptied their mind so those cosmic laws could flow like water, and the harmony of the universe flows. And we had a little thing about emptying the mind. And it was so beautiful because basically it said this. It said that if you let your mind leave your center, if you let it leave love, let's say, if you let it leave this thought of the divine, if you let it leave this beautiful intention that you guys came in here and we prayed about this morning, if you let it leave for something else, that something else is going to take your mind. Whatever. It's going to take your mind. So it's basically saying that Mushin, or the warrior's mind, is an empty mind, an imperturbable mind that doesn't allow itself to be taken by anything. So in immersion in love, we focus on filling the heart with love, so the mind is a servant to this love, because really where the heart is, there the mind is also, you see? So it's just not like, wow, you know, I can't, there goes my mind. No, I have something to do in the meantime, because the secret of patience is to have something to do in the meantime. And actually what I'm doing in the meantime is cracking the iceberg open. It's melting. And I'm using people who are willing to be that soul hero, or that squirrel, that mother squirrel or father squirrel that just determinedly, I don't care, I'll die here. I'll die trying to open myself up in this conversation with someone else, starting with the vertical, I'll die here if necessary. But it is my time now. And we have these kinds of people come through this immersion in love. And it's just amazing to see how fast we can melt. Yes, indeed. Because love's too powerful. Feel it so good, I am joy. And literally when you start that, and you know, people come in, I don't do that on the first day, because literally they'll do that face that Trisha made. Right? Huh. No, we do it the second day. Because we warm up really fast in immersion in love. But to go back to Yogananda's poem, he said, when your mind says piercingly, you can't have him, you don't deserve having him, meaning, okay, I'm going to maybe make a little spiritual effort, but the mind kicks in and says, yeah, right. You've tried that before. It doesn't work. Look at all your habits. You kidding yourself? And then it will start making you think that losing your habits is going to be a funeral, right? Oh, God, I won't be able to do this, and I love still doing this. So you don't even really get that soul determination. But he says, when your mind says piercingly, you can't have him, you don't deserve having him, still, disregarding all that, your soul keeps chanting within, he will come, he will come, he will come. Then he will come. So still your soul determination, that's what the mother squirrel had, was soul determination. She didn't use her little will determination. She knew better, being a holy squirrel, to have already given her will in attunement with the divine will. So she knew that behind her little tail that was emptying the ocean, she knew. She wasn't doubting. She wasn't thinking, oh, this is worthless. I'm going to die here trying. She was going, no, I know divine will is behind my will, and I can demand, as a mother of these baby squirrels, I can demand as a child of the universe that the universe give my babies back. She knew that behind her will was divine will. See, this is the kind of soul determination that's in the air right now. You all stepped into this morning. Because there's a lot of messages going around town at the different places of so-called worship or wherever. There's a different message, but somehow your soul got you here to hear this one. And if you never come back, awesome. You were meant to hear what we're sharing here this morning. For some reason, I hope it's clear. If not, it will be someday. Because it will be, because truth sits in your cranium. It sits in Queen Soul, in King Soul, and the right time comes, and it may be in the winter of your life that you go, oh yeah, I remember. And then you have a tool, and you can pull out that tool and dig in right there when it's harder. In the summer, make hay. Kids, while the sun is shining, make hay. So this last line on that poem was this. These are my favorite lines. This is what I love about Yogananda, who is my teacher. And I said to the group in Immersion Love that I said, I really have a stuck mind. I'm sorry, kids, but I have a really stuck belief system. I have put all of Yogananda's teachings downloaded into my brain, got rid of all my ideas as best, and I continue to do so. So I'm sorry, what you're getting is his stuff, not my stuff. I'm sorry, I'm stuck on him. And I'm so happy. It's the greatest blessing of my life to be stuck on my Guru's teachings, to have put his teachings in place of my ideas about anything. You know what? It works out much better. I can't tell you how happy I am that I employ that practice of taking truth. Don't worry about the word guru if that sounds strange and all that. Just truth. Much better companion to have as those thoughts. And Trish said, I'll tell you what will happen if you take that list of thoughts that you have today and you go to sleep. You won't even read them. They'll be so boring and so depressing. I'm going to sleep. Versus
Well, maybe we'll change.
a mind that's filled with divine thoughts, a beautiful garden, right? A beautiful garden that you download 1 minute meditation at a time, soul determinedly from your place of will. And you go to sleep and go, OMG, wow, I can hardly sleep. I'm so happy. And you might not need to sleep as much because you might want to stay up in that happiness a little longer, you know? Because you know how hard it is to have that little joyous thing happening inside your heart. That's hard to get, and it's really easy to lose, right? So you might just stay up a little longer. Anyway, the last thing that he said in this poem, when will God come? He said, even if you're a sinner of sinners, even if you're a sinner of sinners. Wow, I like that, because I kind of sometimes feel, I'm in that category. We all are, it's relative, right? It's all relative. Sometimes we don't feel so good about ourselves or things. Even if you're a sinner of sinners, if you never stop calling God deeply in the temple of unceasing love, if you never stop calling God unceasingly in the temple of unceasing love, then He will come. Then He will come. Then He will come. Yogananda once said, he said, I have many flaws. And I just think it takes a great master to talk about, hey, me too, right? Me too. I got a ton of flaws. But then he throws in this big kicker at the end of that. He said, but my love for God is greater. And that's our focus. As a yogi, as a bhakti yogi. As a bhakti yogi, it's like, hey, if I can muster up a little devotion in my heart and use that, then I'm not going to, in this moment of doing that, think I'm so bad off with this habit and addiction that I have going on. And if I keep, fanning the flames of this devotion, even if you guys have just a little spark, or maybe no spark, maybe you have to get busy and build a fire in your heart because, you got yourself the Antarctic in there. You're pretty frozen over. And then telling you, the greatest thing you could do to Divine Mother today is kneel. Kneel somewhere, just go in nature somewhere, close your eyes and say, Ma, I really need you to open my heart. Because if you don't think it's frozen over, that's like really scary stuff. Because the fact that you and I aren't in the ecstasy of divine love, wave after wave, crashing on the shores of my heart, as an everyday existence means that we have a little melting to do inside the heart. So even if you're a sinner of sinners, still spark something. And in that moment, in the temple of unceasing love, just say, I love you. Don't have any strings, please. No strings. No strings. No bargains with God. No deals with God. Just Trish said it earlier. Just the squirrel says, now if you want to keep my babies, keep my baby. I just love you. And that's all that I need to fill my heart. I love you.